Hi everyone, my name is Egypt Worthy. I will be doing part 2 of this presentation. The article that I found is called Special Issues in Treating Adolescents with Gender Dysphoria. So again, we're going to talk about gender dysphoria and how this impacts the lives of those who are in that adolescent stage of their life. And so the article starts off by talking about how gender dysphoria has gotten a lot of media attention, as far as with just people using pronouns more often now, as well as this ongoing debate about bathroom usage with the cisgender community and the transgender community. The article talked about how there's been a large increase of referrals to help adolescents who are experiencing gender dysphoria versus past years. And so, of course, gender dysphoria can look very different depending on the individual. So some people may still be on a journey of seeking more information, wanting to become more knowledgeable, or just exploring other options, as well as you might have some people who already know what they want to do next. Some may show signs of gender nonconformity during childhood, whereas some may not experience it until puberty. So it could look very different for everyone. The article talked about how depression can play a factor, can be a factor, in the lives of adolescents experiencing gender dysphoria. It said in the article that transgender adolescents experience higher rates of depression compared to their peers. So when it says peers, it's talking about those who identify as being cisgender. The article talked about how lack of peer relationships most definitely is a crucial factor in relation to adolescents experiencing gender dysphoria, and in relation to just having more mental health challenges. And so the article really talked about how adolescents experience bullying, harassment. There was a survey done that showed how 25 to 52% experience harm due to experiencing gender dysphoria. Um, One thing that I do want to highlight is that I think it was great that the article highlighted how we can change this, and so it really talked about how adolescents having a lot of support as well as being part of inclusive spaces in order to thrive, which I think is very much so true. I think having someone in your corner being able to help walk you through the process as well as being a thinking partner can be very helpful rather than being on your own and having to deal with something that can be very scary, as well as being able to be in spaces where you feel safe and where you can be yourself. In relation to that, the article talked about a young child named Abigail who basically informed their parents that they were a boy at the age of 11. And so basically, in Abigail's case, they were playing a video game online and they were using the name Amon. And basically, they were going through this experience and they vocalized this to their parents, and their parents took them to a doctor, their doctor for their child, and the doctor referred them to a gender clinic. And so ultimately, Abigail was able to transition to Amon. And so the reason why they put this little blurb in the article was due to there being information that adolescents have been diagnosed with autism at a much higher rate when they identify as transgender versus identifying as cisgender. And so I thought this was very interesting. And so in regards to Amon, they were just, sharing the feelings that they were having. And there was somewhat a little bit of pushback from the doctor, but with more discussion around what they were experiencing and how they were very unhappy. Again, Abigail was able to transition into being Amon, and they were able to flourish very, very well as far as with school. They were partaking in more activities. And so I think learning about this was very, very eye-opening for me because I never knew that transgender children were being diagnosed with autism at a higher rate versus cisgender, which I think goes very well with this class because we're here talking about BMI being misdiagnosed and being mislabeled. And so I think this is a great example of that. And so the article talked about the importance of support, as well as different treatment options that adolescents may go through. So some different types of support could be therapy, could be treatment for other mental health conditions, as well as just support and having respectful conversations around how to tell people what they're going through. So that could be school staff, that could be other family members, friends of that nature. And so just having that level of support when having these very, I'm assuming, difficult conversations. Also, the article talked about the different steps to take in relation to treatment. And so, of course, if someone is experiencing gender dysphoria, we're talking about adolescents right now, they would have to be assessed and then actually receive a diagnosis for gender dysphoria. And then sometimes also they might need to be assessed for other mental conditions, as well as connecting with like family, school environments, in those different circumstances being assessed. And just talking about the different medical treatment options, depending on the age, talking about puberty blocks and how that can impact their development, or, things that they were talking about in the article. And then lastly, in relation to just talking about treatment and medical procedures, at the end of the article, it talked about how these medical procedures, the effectiveness, the impact is still very much unknown. So there still isn't a lot of information pertaining to how getting, a puberty block may impact a 14 or 15-year-old. And so I thought that was very interesting, as well as just talking about how adolescents experiencing gender dysphoria need and deserve the same level of support as other clients, and how us as social workers or just clinicians should really look to help support these young folk, because they deserve that level of care just like any other individual. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and best of luck.